Today on Wefunder Studios, the benchmarks just continue to be shattered in record time. Join us for 6 minutes of info on our weekly update of the Calculated Film Project. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of our Wefunder Studios weekly update. We have some really exciting updates for you today, but first I want to tell you what we're going to tell you next week, because we have a really exciting video we're doing next week. John Lee, in case you don't know, is the author of a book. And John, I always mess the name up. Tell me the name of the book again.
The Producer's Business Handbook.
Okay. So John's book, Producer's Business Handbook, is used in film schools all over the country, in fact, all over the world. And so next week, he's going to talk to us about the business strategies, the distribution strategies, and how the development of this motion picture works, which is a completely different method than most indie filmmakers use. So we're going to talk about that next week, and that's going to be very informational and informative for our 300 plus investors. We had an amazing day yesterday, the biggest investor day we've ever had. What benchmarks did we hit, John?
20 investors, which is just extraordinary in one day. In fact, Jason phoned me up and said, "What's going on?" at about 9 o'clock yesterday morning. And I said, "What do you mean?" And I went on and looked and saw real quick. We had, I think, 12 investments made by that early in the day. And then we had another, we went up to 20 then after that. But it was an extraordinary day. It really was. And most of those were due to NCOSE, NCOSE.
That's the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, the ones we have a partnership with. In case you didn't know, guys, we've partnered with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation so we can help fight against human trafficking. And so they sent out a newsletter yesterday letting their donors know about our project. And then a ton of them jumped on board with us.
That pushed us not only over our 300 investor mark,
yeah,
that happened in 15 days, but it also pushed us over our $200,000 mark. So we're a little over 210,000 at present, which is just really jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. So everyone that's looking at this, each of you probably had somewhat to do with that, just because it's being noised about so much in positive press. But NCOSE really has the big hats off because they sent out an email to their list of supporters, and they just really rallied around us. The bulk of the investments yesterday were for them, and they couldn't have been more gracious.
It was really cool, though. A lot of people who had already invested in this project did not know what we had committed to giving some of our own profits to NCOSE afterwards. And when they found out we were fighting against human trafficking, they were like, "Wow, I am so glad I'm involved in this project now, even more glad than when they initially invested." So a lot of people became very, very proud investors when they found out that's what we're doing.
Just amazing to read the quotes. Typically, we have about 50% of the investors that come in make some kind of comment, and they're awesome. We thank you for those. We look at every one of them and often talk with each other about them. But we had about 85%, maybe. There were only 4 or 5 people that didn't make a comment out of the 20.
It's amazing what's happened over the weekend. It took us a month to go from 100 to 200 investors. It took us only 15 days to get from 200 to 300 investors. So it is accelerating exponentially, literally.
How many days did it take us to get from 100,000 to 200,000?
Only I think 17 days. And it took us, only 17 days, I think.
Next week, we'll talk a little bit about what the top production companies and the top producers do to make themselves so top-ish, so successful, to assure each project's success. There are seven things, and we'll focus and go through them at lightning speed, but we'll give everybody an overview of those things that should be done and how we're doing them.
Okay, yeah, because there's a major difference between the way, I know we have over 300 investors, but most of these videos we only have about maybe 50, 60, 70 views, which means that largely our investors are not quite informed yet about how we do business. And so that's going to be next week's video, so you guys know how it is that we develop and get distribution strategies, and how we make sure this film calculated gets seen by the globe and not just by a few thousand people. So that'll be the video we do next week, and that'll be exciting.
We'll make it exciting.
We will.
Don't miss it. You'll need to strap in for this one.
Hey, one good thing to be aware of is that the audiobook is coming out for Calculated on the 23rd. And those of you who really want a hardback version, it's available now as well.
It's funny, one of the people commented who invested, they said, I just got done reading the book and said, boy, I wish that this book had a movie. And then suddenly our ad for Calculated came across Facebook, and he's like, wow, my wishes come true. And he became an investor.
That was quick.
Quite a significant investor too. So yeah, just keep the questions coming, guys, and look forward to talking to you guys next week about the development and distribution strategies that we have from the master himself, John J. Lee Jr. We'll see you guys next week.
It'll be fun.